I'm Sterling Parent, an analyst with Heavy Reading, now part of Omdia, and I am at OFC 2025. Big year for OFC, the 50th anniversary, and very happy today to be talking with James Watt. James is the general manager and head of optics with Nokia. Hey, James.
Hey, Sterling. Great to be here.
Big year for Nokia.
Absolutely. Great. Big year for OFC, big year for us. Great confluence of events.
The acquisition for the past several months, we've been talking about the whys and the hows and the whens. We're past that now, so actually big congratulations on speeding that along. As a combined company, I'd like to maybe focus this interview on the going forward now that you are combined with Infinera as one company under Nokia. Can you talk a little bit about the strategic priorities as the new company? What are your priorities and how are you addressing the current market we're in?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with the challenges the customer. There's a lot going on right now, as you know, in optical networking. But if we look at the big challenges the customer has, on one hand, it's capacity, different kinds, different forms, different drivers, but a lot of it is, capacity challenges. Power is another one. We hear a lot about that in the data center space, but in general, it's just a challenge as speeds get higher and higher. And, the other thing, and we've been talking about this for the last few years, we've been edging up on Shannon's limit, and really, we can now easily fill a fiber. And that makes for a bit of a change as well in how you want to think about building networks. And if you take all those and all the other stuff customers are dealing with, we boil it down to three pieces. We need to build networks that are scalable, simple, and secure. And we need to do that in a way that gives tailored solutions to different customer segments, right? The challenges the CSP have are related to those the hyperscalers have, but not the same. And similarly, there's some relationship between the challenges those two face and the mission critical enterprises challenges, but they're not the same as well. And, obviously different parts of the network have different relative importance of things. A lot of this is getting bandwidth to the right place in the right way. So that's why we say, scalable, simple, and secure networks. That's what we're about.
And so as a combined company, then what you're saying is that you can address those things better as a combination than individually.
Now we have a richer set, two things. We've got a richer set of end-to-end solutions today already. We're a month in, and already the solution set is much richer. But also, by not having to do everything twice going forward, we can deliver more innovation that matters to the customers sooner, and things that make a difference in their networks and how they deliver services. So we've got better set of solutions today, and we're going to be able to expand them more rapidly than we could on our own.
And I think it's an important point, and I'm glad you said it, across customers, because it's easy to get lost in the hyperscaler excitement at a show like this and as a company.
Yeah, there's two dimensions of that excitement, right? There's the volume, because we see it, we talk about it, and there's also the technological excitement, which is always the risk in optical networking. But, those technologies also play in different parts. How we end up with systems and how we deploy them in different customers or different parts of the network segment change. And that's always been the case. But yeah, now that multi-dimensional cube is bigger, and there's more to remember, if you will.
Yeah. Let's get into some of the kind of the key themes and technologies that we're looking at that I'm sure are important to Nokia as well. We just did a symposium seminar in February, and we focused on the optical line system evolution. A lot of people talk about the transponders and the pluggables, and of course we'll talk about those. But the line system itself is evolving in different dimensions. What do you see as the evolution of optical line systems?
I think, as you say, the line has to be there. Eventually, we'll fill it up with transponders, but it's got to be there. I think it's a good example of where all the pressures come. Capacity. We've been doing Seed plus L for about 10 years, but we still need to find more. As I said, we can fill up fibers. Now we need more. Now you talk about multi-route or multi-rail. Maybe further out, we got fiber types changing on us as well. And also there's room for simplicity, right? As the different kinds of networks need different structures, and being able to tailor the line system to give the right structure maybe very simple in a high capacity, reasonably fixed purpose, more flexible when you're trying to distribute bandwidth in a metro area as a CSP. So being able to have the right different pieces of line, but again, scaling up is clearly one of the big things that we talk about, but also scaling down. I mean, we did a lot of work a couple of years ago to get a 4-port ROADM at the cost point of a FODEM to give that flexibility down. At the same time, we're doing massive amounts of work to figure out how to get multi-rail in a operationally effective manner.
Okay.
So pretty dynamic range of work there, but it all comes down to the right capacity in the right parts of the network and as simple as possible for operations tasks. Because the bigger these networks get, we would that other exponential curve has to be dealt with as well.
Right. Pluggables.
Pluggables. I mean, again, another thing that's getting a lot of attention, including from us, right? If we back up a little bit, the other part of the equation, as you were saying earlier, is the transponders. Coherent engines get that bandwidth. Pluggables, we've taken what used to be 15 years ago a 3-card set for 100 gig single pair coherent. Now we can do 8 times of that in an OSFP or QSFP-DD. So massive compaction of volume. Again, though, the core goal there is to get as much into that wavelength as we can, get the right spectral efficiency and the right power point. And, so for us, it's a great way to deliver transponders, whether in a transport system. We've been doing that for a couple generations of the metro,
right?
Whether in directly in routers or otherwise. And, in the end, though, having a massively scalable line only makes sense if you can get lots of bandwidth on it. And we've got to, that's where the customers need the best transponders, whether embedded or pluggables. And right now, there's a big gap we're busy filling. The industry's filling on the pluggable side. And we're going to have ours mid this year. And, we're seeing a lot of demand for what we can deliver.
You're going to have yours which specifically?
800 gig. 800 gig pluggables, yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah. So, I guess a couple interesting things with the pluggables. One of them, as you rightly said, they can go into the DWDM shelves as well as the IP over DWDM, and you'll address both. One of the other things I'm starting to track on the pluggable side is, you always have embedded versus pluggables. Historically, high performance has been on the embedded, but the pluggables they continue to march up with each generation, and you just referenced the 800 gig, which is getting really close in both capacity and distance to addressing, a pretty good chunk of market need. Where does embedded, as a going forward company, where does embedded exist within Nokia?
I mean, the way I think about it is what we call embedded, in fact, is a packaging choice. And, if you need the extra space for a particular application or the extra power, because the pluggables are both space and power constrained, then you need to use it. If you can fit it in an existing package, it's even easier for a whole bunch of reasons operationally for the customer, operationally for ourselves. So to me, the embedded versus pluggable is a bit of a packaging choice. And in fact, if you look on the PSC6S packaging, that's if you will, a proprietary large pluggable that we did to get the operational benefits while still having the power and space we needed. So to me, as we go forward, it's really a packaging choice. The core is performance and power. And that's what the customer needs. We keep focused on that. And then we do what we need to in packaging to make it as simple both for them and ourselves. So our focus overall is just on building great coherent engines, great transponders, and then packaging is a second order term.
All right, so you see both.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not going to say no more embedded. Not at all.
Right. A huge trend, AI, of course.
Yeah.
And so for in the world of optics, what that means is the connectivity for it. A lot of the focus right now on that is within the data center.
Yeah.
And with classic Infinera over the past couple of years, specifically last year, they had announced their migration into the data center with their ICE-D optics. On the classic Nokia side, I think I've had less discussions about an intra within the data center strategy. So I'm very curious about, as the new combined company, looking within the data center, what's the strategy going forward, and how significant is within the data center going to be going forward versus the outside of the data center, which has historically been everything that we've covered.
Yeah, maybe I start with the second one. We've got to do a great job, as I was talking about earlier, for different customer segments and different network segments. But on the other hand, if you look at our technology pool, if you look at our capabilities, this inside the data center opportunity and the need to take power out of that part of the space is something we believe we could make a significant dent in. So, again, there are other places where we can probably apply our technology to a good end. This is a great example of where we can and where we will. And, it's a great complement as well to all the efforts we're making on the IP side on the data center fabric work as well. So if you can think of it as that part of a bigger overall focus on the data center, that's going to continue. That's something Nokia more broadly is very focused on.
Are they, just to get a little bit more specific on that, so the stuff we talked about with Infinera was the ICE-D, I guess the chips that they were going to be selling to the hyperscalers. Is that essentially what the combined company strategy is going to be, or does it get broader than the ICE-D?
I think that's where we start. Yeah. I think you'll see the die packaged into different applications on the booth today, and that's where we start, and that's where we make our contribution to taking power out of the data center, or reallocating it, if you will, back to the GPUs. Mm-hmm. And we've got work to do that. And after that, we'll see what we learn.
See where
we do have a habit of once we get into it, space expanding. And as I said, even in this case, think about the data center fabric as part of that bigger approach to the data center.
Right, with the routers and the other aspects of the business. You do have a large routing business as well. I guess the last thing before we close out, security. It's interesting. We've done some surveys recently around even AI, specifically in telecom, and security came up as a top requirement, and it's kind of always there, but it's essential and more essential going forward. I think one of the things where Nokia has been I wouldn't say unique, but certainly leading edge and probably the most strongest proponent of across both the optics and your IP group has been quantum security. Quantum safe security, whether it's the physics-based QKD or the post-quantum cryptography. You actually have both, and promote it quite a bit. How maybe just some last words on why such a big commitment to that, and does that continue or?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sterling, because that is also a great example. Where did that come from? It's a fair question, and the answer is our customers. We had customers, again, we have a rich customer base, as I said earlier. We had customers, actually in the mission critical enterprise space, who had challenges they needed solved. And so, our first work was to solve them. And then you step back and say, yeah, but they're not the only ones with these problems. They're just the canary in the coal mine. And so we've kept our focus on making sure we can do what they need, making sure that is simple to operate, but also can expand over time as the technology shift. As you mentioned, QKD, there are a lot of players, a lot of rapid innovation there. And so our focus has been, don't preclude that for our customers, allow them to have it, but don't allow them to get started today. But again, this is really, if you will, making sure that our innovation matters, taking a customer need, our capabilities, and then continue to do that. We're now, we've done this for multiple generations of transponders, and we'll continue, because as you said, it's an ever more important need. And, PQC is coming, but if you want to, if you think about rolling out anything across even a small enterprise, the time to get that rolled out is a lot less than standing up encryption on a set of links. Yeah. And so that's how we think about it.
Yeah, it's a long investment cycle, and it sounds like you guys are committed to continue to
absolutely
stay with it.
It's an important priority for many customers.
All right, really looking forward to this is the beginning of the conference, so really looking forward to hearing more about the Nokia strategy and plans as the week goes on. But really great catching up with you, and best of luck.
Oh, great catching up. I mean, we're 1 month in, so there's a lot more to come. But again, it should be a great show, and hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, great. Thank you.